work with it and be confident with it. So this is what is giving us some of the results that we're having. Then the process of the election is that you accredit you and you go and vote automatically. You don't go home to come back to vote. As you are part of accreditation, you go simultaneously to go and vote. So you have a seamless and free exercise.
Okay. Thank you very much. What arrangements have been made for the ad hoc staff so that this vote buying and monetary inducement?
This time around, we have given them an appointment letter, and all their enumeration is listed in that appointment. And we have given a time limit for which money will be paid to them. I think it's a booster to them that they are not going to go out and come back without being paid. So we have an obligation to pay them. And I did promise them in all the centers I went that this INEC will definitely pay them the last kobo, and nobody can be cheated for that part. As far as I represent here, that's what will happen.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Sir. Monday Udo, the Resident Electoral Commissioner, INEC. What's your final thoughts for us?
My final thought, as a pastor, I committed to myself for 14 days of fasting, asking God to give us even the clement weather, which I'm enjoying now. And the clement weather is enough for people to go out and vote. I would have wondered if the rain is falling down, how people are still voting points. So God has answered my prayers, and I believe that we're going to answer our prayer. And at the end of the day, we shall have a one ballot, and the election will be returned. So those are my concerns.
Peacemaker Esther Uzoma, what would you like to say to us?
Yes, I would like to call on Bayelsans again. Come out and vote. Violence is no longer the way. The world has moved beyond violence. Look at the people who are changing the world. Look at Facebook, look at Twitter, look at those young people. The way to go is knowledge. There is nothing glorifying. There is nothing sexy in violence. Aluta with your brain. We are doing knowledge aluta now. Go get a PhD. Change your environment with your knowledge. The way to go is not gun or inducement by smoking weed or tramadol. Those ones are so yesterday.
Put it properly, succinctly as well. Esther Uzoma, thank you for coming. And of course, the Resident Electoral Commissioner, Monday Udo, we thank you. I hope you will keep praying and fasting so that all will be well. We'll get it done and dusted and peacefully also. We would like to inform you that we'll be back in the studios in Bayelsa. For now, we'd like to take a trip back to Abuja, where Omnioden is standing by.
The Commissioner has sustained one position with emphasis that INEC declared elections not war, and if we say truly that since 1999 to date, the political culture in Nigeria, the voter education in Nigeria has really evolved, because before now we would have been hearing vehicles are burned, materials have not arrived. Before we went to Bayelsa and for update, we heard Osazuzi from INEC telling us the fact that even difficult to reach areas have been attended to within time. And the update from the AIG Bulahan here is about the fact that no skirmishes anywhere. And from the testimony from one of the guests in Yenegua, she said clearly that she was amazed on arriving the location. The policemen were there quite early. So moving on to you, sir, what would have been the magic? Before now we used to hear that well, we'll take the question. Let's go to Lokoja, where we will also be getting updates, and I believe Ifeanyi Okafor is standing by to give us updates on the elections. Hello, Ifeanyi.
It's good to have you back here in the Kogi Decide studio. Good to have you back here in the Kogi Decide studio, Lokoja. I'm still Ifeanyi Okafor here with you. We have with us Dr. Abraham Musa, who is a senior lecturer of the Department of Political Science, Federal University, Lokoja. And he is here to take us through an engaging deliberation on the election. It's good to have you with us here.
Thank you, sir.
Like I said before, we are here in Lokoja, the Kogi State capital, and it is known for its topography, peaceful, reserved and architecturally aesthetic environment, The people here are highly political conscious people and an overwhelmingly eager electorate. We also have an industrious population that hopes to harness the benefits of favorable policies and programs. The election is actually a step towards actualizing the realization of that objective. You will recall that there are about 239 wards and 2,548 polling centers. Very quickly, we will take on Fisayo, who has been in town, and we want to hear what he has for us on the situation report in town.
Here in Kogi State. I'm here at Lokoja 1, Ward A, the cinema polling unit it is called, and
this is Kalaworo polling unit. This is Kalaworo polling unit, Ward B, where we have 4 polling units. Voting has commenced in this polling unit, and we have an eligible voter. This is
Fisayo police report. Fisayo has been in town and he has arrived within Lokoja environment.
here in Lokoja, of course, the much anticipated governorship elections here in Kogi State. I'm here at Lokoja 1, Ward A, the cinema polling unit it is called, and voters have arrived. They're waiting men and materials of the Independent National Electoral Commission. Sir, can we meet you?
Yes, my name is El Shatima Abogun. I'm a resident in Ward A here in Lokoja. We're all out to vote. You can see the atmosphere is fully charged. People are ready. We've been here, some of us have been here since 7 o'clock. This is almost 8:30 now. We're still waiting for the INEC officials.
If my cameraman can pan across his shoulder, the INEC officials are just arriving with the materials and going to take their place right there. Election observers are here. Everybody is ready. The INEC materials are just arriving now at the polling unit, and of course the people are ready to perform their civic duties. Let me come back to you very quickly. How is it normally in this ward? Do you always expect a huge turnout?
Yes, historically Ward A here where we are is the largest ward in the country. It has 23 polling units and it usually have a capacity to produce over 40,000 votes, which is almost more than some local governments, but it is a ward. So usually the expectation is very high in Ward A, and even the eye of the other part of the state is always beamed on Ward A, because the vote that usually comes out from here is capable of changing whatever the outcome of any election. So yes, expectation is high both for the voters and of course for people who are also seeking for our votes. So, and that is why you can see the large turnout of people waiting to cast their votes.
All right, let's ask one or two other voters here. Please, can we meet you, sir?
Good day. Hello.
What's the name, sir?
My name is Suleiman Zubairu.
And tell us about your expectation, and when did you arrive, and what are your expectations as far as this election is concerned in terms of the conduct?
8:30 to 9. I think the INEC people have just come in now to set the material for the electorate. We are praying that the election should be free and fair, and we are praying that the orderliness should be there, and the security should not be biased to the public. And that is the essence of democracy. It should allow people to exercise their rights so that people can have what to say. How hold the government accountable?
All right, that is the situation here. It is a huge ward here in Lokoja. People started arriving at about 6 o'clock this morning when it was not even light yet, and then now they are here waiting for the processes to commence. Very shortly, INEC officials will begin to set up. They have arrived with the materials as well as security agents to make sure that we have free, fair and credible elections from this ward, and of course we'll be giving you other wards as well, and how events unfold right here in Lokoja. It's back to the studio.
Many thanks, Fisayo. Yes, we hear the materials have been arriving the various polling units. We are pleased about that. Like I said before, we have Dr. Abraham Musa Peter, a senior lecturer, Department of Political Science, Federal University, Lokoja. Very quickly, what is the mood as you were coming in here today? What is the mood of the people?
Even beyond today, the mood has been the mood of joy, excitement. People are excited because it's an event that comes up, every 4 years. People are excited to exercise their franchise, are excited to decide who governs them. So it's a mood of excitement in town.
Yes, definitely a mood of excitement. Now, are you equally as excited as the people?
Oh, very excited. Okay. Very excited.
It actually is finally D-Day, and we did hear from Fisayo that materials have indeed arrived at most of the centers that he went to this morning. Now, looking at the electoral umpire, the INEC, and the particular build-up to this day, what will be your reactions on the preparation, on INEC's preparation in the entire process as it is up till this point?
Well, that is a good development. INEC is no longer new. INEC has been existing since 1998 in the build-up to the first Fourth Republic election. And INEC has done so well to put things in order for the sake of this election. I recall that about a month ago, INEC trained what they call the trainers who went to the various local government councils to train the APOs and the POs who oversee this election. So INEC has done well, done very well in terms of preparation, and I believe that the outcome will be good.
Definitely, we expect the outcome to be quite good. There are roughly about 239 wards and 2,548 polling units in the 21 local government areas here in Kogi State. What is expected at this time in terms of the activities that will be going on these various polling units now?
It's the same thing that as I said earlier. Today is by virtue of the election is there's restriction of movement. So I believe by now people are fired up in their various polling units to exercise their franchise, particularly people who have their PVC. So I believe it's what's happening across all the local government councils and across all the polling units in Kogi State.
Yeah, usually at times like this, the electoral officers and the voters will be on ground, just like we have seen in some of our reports that we took. Now, what are your expectations of the electoral officers in the various polling units? What do you expect from them at this point?
Well, from history, and of course, going by the current development, elections are always very keen. Because they are stakeholders, they are people who have interest. Okay, so I believe that the electoral officers should be transparent, should be open, should be unbiased. Because of course, INEC is an unbiased umpire.
Yeah.
Okay, so if they can be very unbiased, transparent, fair to all parties, I believe that there won't be any problem at all.
Thank you, Dr. Abraham Musa. Very quickly, we'll take another report. It's still a situation report. This is coming from Ajibola Christopher from the Lokoja Club.
Is Kalaworo polling unit, Ward B, where we have 4 polling units. Voting has commenced in this polling unit, and we have an eligible voter who will tell us the processes. How do you feel about the conduct?
The conduct has been so far very peaceful, and the people here have been orderly in their conduct. As you can see yourself, youths, elder, men, women, everybody have been very orderly, and the thing has been going on peacefully. I want to assure you that at the end of the day, it will turn out very peaceful as far as this unit is concerned. Yes, you are welcome.
What appeal do you have for the electorate in terms of peaceful disposition?
Yeah, well, the appeal I have to the electorate is that they should vote the candidate of their choice and conduct themselves peacefully. After all, we are one family from this unit, from this local government, and of course in the state. We will still remain in this state. Nobody will leave the one for the other, but we will still remain after the whole exercise. So it is better for us to conduct ourselves very peacefully. You are welcome. All right.
Okay, good to have you back. We are right here in the INEC office and just in front of the collation center right here, and I still have my guest with me. Very briefly, we'll take some issues, the key challenges actually of the electoral umpire, as we had seen in the previous elections, had been problems of insecurity and possibly funding issues. Let's look at the insecurity as a whole. Now, what's your perspective of the arrangement so far? I have seen a security presence heavily here in Lokoja as well as other parts of the state.
Well, thank you so much. Then the issue really is about the nature of our elections, because election is not war, you know, and then it's as if when we are preparing for election, we are preparing for warfare. For instance, for the sake of this election, the police has to deploy 35,000 men of the Nigerian police. You know, and we're not in warfare. So, but in any case, with that number of police in Kogi State alone, I believe that the security arrangement is very tight, very okay, and that I also encourage eligible voters to go out to vote, because the police and other security agencies are there for their safety. So I believe that there will not be security breach in this election.
Now, talking about security breaches and issues of insecurity, you will agree with me that a lot of these are actually put on the hands of the attitude of the political class. What is your expectation in terms of how the political class can ensure that we have a more reliable and peaceful process? Elections are not war.
Well, the political class will never give us that kind of opportunity because of desperation. They are desperate. You see, in a football competition, one team must win. But our politicians are not willing to win, to lose election, in a credible election. And because of that, many of them engage talks and all kind of, unwholesome practices to win at all costs. So if they can have that kind of sportsman character and attitude, I don't think there should be reason for war in election, because it's just people deciding on who governs them or who should govern them.
Okay, now, just like you said, it is actually advisable that some of the legal framework should actually address some of these issues. That's our expectations, and I am sure that the Independent National Electoral Commission has definitely put in place some of this to ensure that issues of thuggery, issues of ballot box snatching and things like that are actually checked. What do you say?
And the truth is that, you see, when an offender is not punished, it gives room for more to commit the same offense. If I ask you a question, how many thugs have been punished since we began to conduct election in the Fourth Republic? No one. So because of that, people have the liberty to commit the same offense. There should be stringent, punishment for anybody caught in thuggery and the sponsors of that of the thugs. If that is not done, then you still be encouraging more people to join the business of thuggery.
So ideally, what you're talking about is that there must be prosecution of electoral offenders.
Yes.
It must seem
irrespective of who is involved.
Irrespective of those involved. Very quickly, we will take another report. This is actually coming again from Fisayo, who went into town. Fisayo, tell us the security situation here in Lokoja and the areas where you went to this morning.
Here we are at the Amule polling unit in Alheri, out here still in Lokoja, and it is a mood of friendly frenzy. If you see right on our shoulders, everybody is ready. lined up and getting ready to cast their vote of different types, colors, generations, ready to do the business this morning. For the past 2 hours, they have been here, expectant, waiting to cast their ballot. Accreditation is ongoing. I have people from 2 generations here. I will interpret for Baba.
That's it.
Baba, Kiloruko. Baba says he has come to vote. He has been voting for the past 40 years. And Baba, so Baba says after he has voted, he will just go home and rest. Let me welcome another of the voters. This is a much younger voter. What is the name?
Blessing Isa.
Blessing, have you done your accreditation and when did you get here?
I came here 6 o'clock this morning.
And so what are your expectations? How has the conduct been so far in terms of the organization?
The organization is okay. I've been voting here for the past 8 years and it's okay.
Before we leave this Aleri ward, let me talk to an election observer. Perhaps he's even already submitting 1 or 2 reports. Can we meet you?
Good morning. My name is Solomon.
Tell us a bit about your observations so far.
So far, so good. I arrived here at 6:30 a.m. and the INEC officials and the security arrived here 7:55 exactly. And so far they have been trying to fix up everything, and because you can see they are queuing up for the election. So
if we can just look over my shoulder and look into the compound, you can see the INEC officials giving instructions as to the conduct of today's exercise. And people here in Alheri is that they are advocates of order, advocates of the Q theory, and you can see everybody is coming in one by to do the accreditation, and they say that here the expectation is high, the mood is one of conviviality, happiness, and being able to come and just perform their civic duty. Perhaps stay, perhaps go, but they want to make sure that that is done, and then every other aspect of the election, they will watch and see how things are panned. That we will continue to go across the length and breadth of Kogi State to give you events as they unfold. It's back to the studio.
Thank you so much. Really, we are moving on, and we want to take a look at possibly the logistic and technical deficiencies. Do you envisage such situations with the way INEC has actually structurally organized itself from day one till date?
Well, that has been a major challenge in most of our elections, particularly delivery of materials to difficult terrains. You know, Kogi State is a confluent state, and then the riverine, many of the local government councils are in riverine areas. For example, Ibaji local government council, even in Lokoja here, Lokoja 2 state constituency, talk about Kupa, Gol, Kakanda, you know, these are difficult terrains. And I believe that INEC could have made arrangement for how to convey materials to those places and on time. Because many of them complained before that election materials arrived there very late. Okay, so I believe that by now, if have made, having been aware of those difficult terrains, would have made an arrangement.
We indeed have so much of such difficult terrain in Lokoja, Kogi State, and outside some other areas.
Yes, in Baji particular.
Yes, but all these areas, the expectations are that the Independent National Electoral Commission would have taken cognizance of some of these hard-to-reach areas with a view to ensuring that they are proactive to reach those areas as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's not a new thing in election in Kogi State, and they are aware of these difficult terrains. One of those places have to use transportation by means of by water. Okay, so I believe INEC have made proper arrangement for that before now, because it have in fact in 2019 general elections held in those areas, and I believe by now INEC is on top of the situation.
Again, another very sore point of elections is actually the issue of inducements to voters. This has actually, maybe resurfaced after quite some time that this was not the case. Now, the problem of inducements have been something that has been much topical Now, what can be done to ensure that this is actually stopped?
It's okay. Inducement has been on and is still on. Voters have become commodities to be bought and sold. You see, but like I always say, you can't buy a commodity that's not available. The voters made themselves available to be bought. And in doing that, they are selling out their consciences. They are selling out the proposed what they call dividend of democracy. Because when somebody buys you at election, you should not expect anything from that person if the person wins in the election. So I think that it is in the hand of the voters not to make themselves available to be bought and sold. You know, because if you do that, you have no local stand to challenge a government if it's not performing. But if you vote your conscience, you have the right to challenge the government. If at the end of the day the electioneering promises, you know, are not delivered, are not fulfilled.
Okay, this is the international organizations and international partners towards credible elections have stressed some fundamental shortcomings, such as intimidation and violence on voters, as well as INEC staff. Now, this intimidation of voters and INEC staff is also another area where we believe should actually be focused on and checked.
Yeah, I think INEC is aware of this, and the Nigerian government is aware of this. I think that's the reason why the government has to deploy 35,000 men of the Nigerian police force to Kogi State, because it all boils down to the level of desperation of our politicians. You know, bringing in thugs to either snatch ballot balls, scatter ballot paper, beat up, you know, election officers and those on election duty. Okay, so this can be stopped by security reinforcement. Okay, at the polling units, at the RA collection centers, at LGA collection centers, and even at the state collection center. There should be adequate security to ensure that nobody will have the access to where these things are done to scatter the place. And I believe that with 35,000 men of the Nigerian Police Force and other security agencies, this could be controlled.
Okay, Dr. Peter, sometimes you hear ominous predictions of chaos and bloodletting, sometimes that attend elections in some areas. Now, how would you classify Kogi State in this regard? How prepared are the relevant agencies to deal with this situation?
Kogi State has been tensed in the past few days. I'm sure you heard the report where some masked security force agents, you know, attacked the hotel where the Oyo State governor is another party supporters, you know, were lodged. You know, this have been happening. Heard of killings at rallies, you know, gunshots to the air all across the state capital, and I'm sure in other parts of the state. This are happening. It's tensed. But like I said earlier, these early warning signs, you know, are well known to the government. Okay, and I think that is the reason for. In fact, you recall that so a few days ago, the IGP himself was in Lokoja with the INEC chairman, and there was a disturbance. A candidate was assaulted. You know, the police had to release tear gas to disperse the thugs and other hooligans in that place. So there were early warning signs before this election, and I think that is the reason why, with the IGP himself available on that day, I'm sure that he has done needful to ensure that, you know,
definitely. So far, it's been peaceful so far. We haven't had situations that are untoward. So we have cause to celebrate at this point, and also hope that it remains the same till the expiration of the entire exercise. Now, Dr. Peter, Kogi West is in the news too for the senatorial election rerun. And in addition to the senatorial rerun, we also have all the council areas that would come alive for the election, for the governorship election. Have you focused your attention on Kogi West area for this election?
Yeah, Kogi West is a very interesting part of Kogi State. Interesting in the sense that two parallel elections will be going on in Kogi West. The gubernatorial election and the Kogi West senatorial rerun election. You recall that some days ago, the election of Kogi West senatorial district was nullified, and INEC had to conduct a fresh election in that part of the state. Kogi West has several local government councils, dominated by the Okuns, occupying about 5 local government councils, and it has been an interesting part of the state. I believe that the enthusiasm is high, very high, in that part of the state, because it is not only about the governor. Because if you look at the gubernatorial candidates, none is from Kogi West, except that maybe the PDP has a running mate from Kogi West. Okay, but the interest is keen because of their decision to elect who represents them in the Senate. So it has high level of enthusiasm in the Kogi West Senatorial District, and it will be monitoring the development in that part of the state.
Yeah, quite an interesting scenario here in Kogi State. So far we know that accreditation is ongoing now, side by side with voting. This particular method was introduced recently also to ensure a seamless flow of the elections and to ensure that everything is done accurately. Now, take a look at what we have on ground, and what's your reaction?
Well, before by ANEC arrangement, there will be accreditation from 8 a.m. to 12 midday, after which elections will start. But this innovative is very, very important, very, very good, because then some people could be accredited and they will not vote. But in this development right now, people vote as soon as they are accredited. So there's no issue of saying 5,000 people were accredited, only 2,000 voted. Once you are accredited, you are going to vote. So I think it's a good development, and I think we'll continue to improve. It's an emerging democracy, and as we continue to practice, we're going to improve on some of these critical issues, in a democratic process.
Okay. Let's begin by looking at the various local government areas here in Kogi State. Now we have Adavi with the headquarters in Ogaminana. You have 11 registration areas and wards with 191 polling units. Total registered voters there are actually about 105,000. Now, what's your impression about that particular local government, the Adavi people?
But in terms of what?
No, I'm talking about in terms of the voting experience in that area.
You see, this election in Kogi State is very, 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 very key, and it's very, very unique, because for the first time, apart from the 2015 experience where the winning candidate of the All Progressive Congress died and had to be replaced with the second runner-up in the APC primaries in person of the current governor, Alaji Adozabelu. It is the first time that election is taking place with involving two different ethnic groups in the state. The APC candidate, the incumbent governor, is an Igwera man from Kogi Central, where Adavi is. And the PDP candidate, person of Engineer Musa Wada, is from Kogi East. Okay, so I should expect that, well, I'm not preaching ethnic politics, but I should expect that Kogi Adavi Local Government Council should tend more towards the candidates from Kogi Central Senatorial District. That's my expectation. Even though I'm not an preaching ethnic politics, but it's a likely expectation that there'll be massive voters turnout, because the interest is very high. And then election democracy is a game of number. The more people you have, the higher the tendency for you to win the election. So I'm sure they are well mobilized to come out en masse to vote for their candidate of their choice. Apart from that, the other issue of interest, which cuts across ethnic and other primordial sentiments.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Peters. Now, you just talked about Adavi. We also have Anpa And Ankpa actually has a voting population, a registered voters population of 142,000. Dekina has a registered voters population of 166,000. You have other ones with very high voter population like Lokoja, 137,000, Ukene with 131,000. Now these are local governments here where you have a high number of registered voters. What's your expectations in those areas with very high numbers of registered voters? Those are key areas here in Kogi State.
Yeah, those local government councils are key deciding local government councils. Are the candidate that is able to win majority, high majority in those local government councils may likely emerge the winner in the election. But before I get there, I've always said this, that whoever emerges the winner of this election is a Kogite. And Kogites will queue behind him or her to party the affairs of the state. But again, you talk about Ankpa, talk about Dekina, for example. These two local government councils are in Kogi East. And Kogi East has a strong contender for the office of the governorship of Kogi State. So again, I may suspect that the Kogi East person may garner higher number of votes in the local government councils. Again, it's not conclusive. There's an issue of interest that again cut across ethnic group. But it's my maybe prediction, sort of. But Lokoja is a state capital, even though it falls within Kogi West Senatorial District, but the country is a bit unpredictable, knowing can't really predict the minds of the people. But again, it's a local government council that will produce high voter in this election. However, wins in Lokoja may be favored for winning the election generally across the state. They also mentioned Okene. Okene is a local government council with under high registered voter. And again, like to cut to my point earlier, it's a keenly contested election. Kogi Central has a candidate, in the place of the incumbent governor, and Okene is his base. So I should expect that he should be able to gather more votes in Okene more than the other contestants.
Well, that's your expectation.
It's really my expectation, really. Yeah. And of course, apart from him, the SDP candidate, Barrister Natasha Hadiza Apoti, is also from Kogi Central. So there could be tendency for share of votes basically among those two key contestants from Kogi Central. However, the issue of interest is still dominant in politics, and then some other persons could still swing to vote for other candidates, maybe from outside Kogi Central.
I would add that those areas are actually open for all the candidates, yes, depending on whose choice.
Yes, it's a matter of choice.
Yes. Now, looking at the 21 local government areas, we have Ogorimagongo, we have Olamaboro, we have some very interesting areas where we expect that there will be very interesting flow of the process.
Yes. For example, in Olamaboro, I think I'm aware that the running mate to the incumbent governor, the APC gubernatorial candidate for Olamaboro Government Council, that's Chief Edward Onoja. And I suppose that the people may like to go with their brother, who is the running mate to the
maybe we should desist from saying who is going with who. It's actually open.
It's a possibility. I'm just making my normal prediction.
Yes.
And some of the predictions may come up true at the end of the election. I can't tell. But again, the issue of interest is paramount.
Yes.
Olamaboro maybe is a battleground between the two leading political parties. There are also some other parties that could make inroads, into that local government council. And to come to Ogorimagongo, I think Ogori should have the least registered voters from experience in Kogi State. That may not be too much determining factor from that local government council, except that by ANEC rule, a candidate should be able to win to third
1/3 of 2/3 local government councils to win the election. So any candidate that wins in Ogori Magungu will still be counted in favor of that person in determining the 1/3 of 2/3 local government councils in the states.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Musa Peter, for your insightful perusal of all the situations in the entire area of Kogi and some in the local jar here. Possibly we would have you come in again to give us some insight on what is happening here in Kogi. It's Kogi Decides studio, and we'll be handing over to the Abuja Center for continuation of Kogi Decides.
Thank you, Ifan Okafor, for the very insightful session there with the political scientist. And back in Abuja, we're just about taking a look at the demography, the spread of voter registration, voter areas, and we'll just at some point go to the touch screen. But quickly, while in Kogi, while in Bayelsa, I believe a lot of developments have come up. We have the INEC representative with us, Osaze, and also the AIG in charge of operations, Austin Agbolanha. I'll get used to the name eventually as an Edo State person. Quickly, while we're in Kogi and Bayelsa State, what is the update so far? Because we know that security-wise there'll have to be updates here and there. But before we went to Kogi, we were about saying Barrister Esther in Yenegua said there was this surprise they had today. Policemen arriving much earlier than expected. What would have been the secret?
Well, it's a product of good planning. When you plan well, you get good results. And part of it is that proud to today we have mobilized the men. As early as on the 11th, all men for the election we expected to be in the various states, and outside that, the posting was also direct to where they are supposed to be. In other words, you must know the location. I mean, that is the local government, the ward, and the unit. All these postings have been done before that 11th. So while the men that were mobilized from other states were moving, they know exactly where they were going. It was not the situation where you move, for instance, if a police team is leaving from River State to Yenegua or to Bayelsa State, they were going to assemble in Yenegua. No. If you are posted to Sagbama, you move straight to Sagbama. If you are posted to Amasoma, you move straight to Amasoma. So you can now discover that before 11th, men were already in where they were to perform their duties. They were already used to the place. They already know the distance they were to live close to the various polling units where they are to perform their duty. So they already know all those things. So when you have almost about 6-7 days, to familiarize yourself with the environment, it makes it very easy. And in addition to that, I think in terms of allowances, they were to be paid directly.
That should have been a motivational factor now.
Yeah, you call it so, but you're right. So they were to be paid the allowance direct to their account. In other words, before today, they have all received their alerts. And so you don't need to wait for somebody to count the money for you. You're already seeing your this. And once you see the money there, and it's for the purpose of your duty, election duty, so you must perform. I think you can see. And two, the force, is based on discipline. And discipline goes beyond just wearing the uniform and all that. Everything about your life is hinged on discipline. You go to work early, you don't need to be told. And like in the police, once your duty is 7 o'clock, it is expected that by 6:30, that is 30 minutes before the time, you are at your duty posts.
Okay, that goes to confirm we raised 4 concerns at the opening of this program, and we said, will the key players abide by the peace accord? It's evolving. Are voters likely to turn out en masse for the elections? It's evolving. Are we going to see improvement in the conduct of the exercise? That's evolving. But quickly, let's take a look at the spread in terms of local governments, in terms of voter spread, in terms of gender, and quickly we are on Bayelsa now. This Bayelsa. In Bayelsa, we have a voter population of 923,182. Polling units 1,804, registration area 105, political parties 45, male 42, female 3. But like I talked to Dr. Adeniyi, would it would have been because of an evolving political culture in Nigeria, 1999 to date, that will have, if you take a look at the spread of the gender, this gender spread shows clearly that here, clearly you see total male 498, 790, 54.03%, and for female is 424,392, representing 45.97%. What would have been responsible by your analysis?
Oh, well, I think it's actually gratifying. It's a good development that we're having, a close figure between the two, between the gender, But it might not also be okay for us to limit it to this view, because we need to look at the overall picture of the entire population of the state, and see how many people actually register to vote before we begin to say, okay, what's the difference between the male and the female, population number, that is. But we cannot also rule out the fact that there's an increased consciousness among the populace, among the voters, for them to exercise their civic duty, and it's probably, probably leading us to what we're now seeing, and it's also very gratifying that we're making progress at the level of awareness, at the level of consciousness, but again, it's not to say that we have reached the last mark. We still need more sensitization, we still need more political education. I know INEC they're doing their best at the level of voter education. Some other agencies are still very responsive as well, but I think there's still something missing in terms of how to educate our people away from violence, away from expressing their desire through violent acts. And it leads me to listening to the DIG in Yenagua when he was talking about how prepared they are, how they have deployed gun boots and all of that, their preparedness. I became slightly scared that were we really preparing for war? You can't blame the police, for getting these ready, because they are reacting to...
But the INEC declared election, not war.
No, absolutely. We can't blame the police because they are reacting to probably information which they are processing into intelligence and probably trying to prevent it, But then I'm looking forward to a situation where we have an election where this kind of preparation that is making us look as if we are deploying for war, for warfare, is out of place. But at the level of education, I think we're making progress, but we still need some more education, really. And of course, the politicians themselves, I want us to move away from tarring all of them with one brush. We have quite a number of them who are very fantastic. Many of them are determined, ready to leave very good names, ready to leave very good legacies, but we need a lot more of them being very determined, to make a mark and probably, satisfy the yearnings and aspirations of the people like they promised them ahead of elections. It's not enough for us to see them changing. It's not enough for not to be able to match their action with their words. We need to be able to match their words with their action, so that we'll say, okay, beyond the fact that the people are sensitized, beyond the fact that we are having more male and female voters, okay, our politicians are also increasing at the level of determination to serve the people as against self-aggrandizement.
Okay, now let me go to Osaze. Osaze is still on Bayelsa State.
Yes.
Now, if you take a look, this is the total number of registered voters.
That's correct.
And of the total number, this PVCs collected,
correct.
These uncollected PVCs.
Yeah.
And if you take a look at it, collected PVCs is a representation of 96.3%, uncollected 3.7%.
Yes.
Will it be an improvement or a deterioration? What would have been responsible? Because it looks as though, comparatively, by the last general elections, what we had was collected PVCs was almost not as good as this. Could it be because elections are close by and we had this?
Well, I think you can use statistics for anything, so we have to put it in context. Between the 1st of September and 30th of September, there was PVC collection in Bayelsa State. So quite a number of people who had not collected their PVCs were given another opportunity to collect their PVCs. So there is an improvement from the general elections figures. So
I'm looking at 923,182 and collected PVCs 889,309, 96 point this.
That's what we're looking at. The total number of reserve voters remain the same.
because we did not do a fresh registration for this election.
So will it have been as a result of voter education or voter awareness? I don't know.
Well, I think it's a mixture of quite a number of factors. But yes, there was a lot of voter information and voter education. People realized the importance of collecting their PVCs. And knowing that another election, governorship election was imminent, quite a number of people who were, for whatever reason, not interested or it wasn't convenient for them to collect, now came back to collect their PVCs. So there is an improvement, and various factors are responsible for that. But as for the uncollected, as I said earlier, it's quite possible that people have left the states. Some are dead, because these figures are people registered from 2011 up till the last time we did CVR late last year, just before the general election. So some are dead, some have migrated, some it will take too much in terms of money and whatever else to go back to collect. Some have left the state. So I think it's a fair.
So by the spread of LGS now, the elections in Bayelsa taking place in 8 LGS.
Yes.
And by this spread,
yes,
the planning process by INEC, what do you think INEC would do before the next elections, given what we have now?
Well, before the next elections, we're likely to continue with CVR, continuous voter registration, which was suspended just before the general election in accordance with the law. So we are likely to, maybe first quarter of next year, before the second quarter, we'll recommence that continuous voter registration. So the total number of registered voters will increase.
Yeah.
And with that, hopefully, people will also go back and collect their PVCs. So these statistics may not be relevant for that purpose anymore.
Okay, let me go to the AIG. I know vividly in the course of the election coverages years back, I covered elections in southern Ijaw. And from Yenegua to southern Ijaw by boat, we spent minimum 1.5 hours to get to southern Ijaw. And by today, you are saying that deployment, security-wise, all this has been done. Is it planning, is it mapping, or what?
Planning, like I told you, from on the 11th, men responsible or that were posted to such areas had arrived. So in other words, from 9, 10, 11, they would have arrived in Yenegua, because movement to Southern Ijaw basically is from Yenegua beach. So they would have arrived about that on the 10th and leave on that 11 to the Southern Ijaw. And this time, like you said, 1 hour to Southern Ijaw by boat. So by speedboat. 1 hour, 2 hours. I know that place, but I know Southern Ijaw very well.
Okay.
So you discover that throughout on the 11th, they would have used the whole of that day to go to Southern Ijaw and arrive there and settle down there. On the 11th of November, election is on the 16th today. Okay. So you now discover that 5 days is enough for them to settle down and get.
We're done with Bayelsa now. When we return from Kogi, where we have an update, we'll now take analysis on Kogi. So let's get this update from Olotu in Kogi State.
Again, studio. I am presently at Okene local government, where we have Oretesu Ward 5. There are 4 polling units registered to this field. Inside the local government walls, within the local government walls, we have polling units 13 and 15. Polling unit 13 is registered with 116 registered voters, while 15 has 649. But interestingly, I have with me 2 young ladies who are first-time voters. I have Fatima Yahya on my right and Oiza Saratu Otaru on the left, and are eagerly waiting to exercise their franchise, but they want to talk to us on their experience so far. Now, Fatima, tell me, for you, voting for the first time, what is the experience like for you here?
This is my first time, and I'm proud of it that I have this experience today.
Now, being a first timer, what is your observation of the exercise here?
The observation I have is that I am proud of myself for who I vote for.
Thank you very much. Now, Oiza, you're also voting for the first time.
Yeah.
How does it feel partaking in an exercise like this?
I'm so happy, interesting, because this is my first time of participating in a vote, and I believe I'm good and capable to choose whom I want to vote for.
Now, what is your observation of the poll officials? Would you say they are doing justice to what?
Yeah, they are doing justice really, because in there they do not allow anyone to use any other's voter's card. They are very justice and they are perfect in doing their work.
Thank you very much. I also have with me an old hand who has partaken this exercise for several years, a retired civil servant. His name is Alhaji Maman Isa Okatahi. Sir, you have participated in episodes of an exercise like this.
Of course.
What is the experience like for you recounting?
Democracy is actually at work, and understanding is becoming more and more. Then awareness is there. You can see that the voters are so organized and very peaceful. There's no cause for alarm, and everybody is orderly conducting themselves here. And with this, it actually showing how we are getting to understand and getting what democracy is all about. And the understanding is becoming more and more. People are becoming more aware.
Let's talk about the poll officials.
Yes.
What is your observation?
Yes, the officers have been conducting themselves well, because the card readers, everything are functioning as expected, and they have been conducting their assignment as usual, and the voting pattern is as stipulated by the electoral law. So we are happy that everything, and the officers, they are really doing fine. So also the security officials, they are all around here. You can see them that they are just relaxing here. There's no cause for alarm, and they have no job. They are just watching things going on normally. There's no problem.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, you've heard it from him that this is an old hand, somebody who has partaken this exercise for years, and for him, he sees improvement in the system. The poll officials are doing the needful to ensure that the exercise turns out successful, and that security agencies too are also providing the necessary environment to ensure that all goes smoothly. That is it from here. We'll move from here to another polling unit to give feedbacks to the studio. It's back to you in the studio.
So much Olotu, and that was an update from the field there. Like we told you, that NTA has deployed men and materials, huge deployments across all the political units, across all the voting centers, to bring Nigerians up to speed of developments and happenings during the Kogi and Bayelsa elections. And as you are aware, in Kogi State, where we are about to analyze now, it is, besides the governorship elections, we are also having Kogi West Central rerun election ordered by the court. Now quickly, Kogi has a total voter population of 1,646,350 million. Now total registration area of 239 polling units, 2,548 polling units. Compared with Bayelsa, where we have 8 local government areas, Kogi polling will be taking place in 21 local government areas. Now, taking a comparative analysis, in Bayelsa State, we had, I can't remember, but now in terms of spread, we are now in Kogi. The gender spread in Kogi is for male 50.1%, which represents a total population of 825,663. Now, female voter population is 49.9%, representing a population of 826,87. Let me go to Dr. Deneye. We finished Bayelsa, we are now in Kogi. Would you say, in terms of the closeness, 825,663, 826,87, will you say the voter education in Kogi State is better in Bayelsa State?
Well, it might be dangerous for us to engage in some kinds of Bayelsa.
You know, we need to check, first of all, the total population of Kogi State, number of voters, you know, number of those that collected their PVCs, you know, and number of those that probably will vote at the end of the day before we begin to appreciate the gender difference, you know. But it's okay to assume in the circumstance that awareness that INEC is doing and other agencies are yielding result. That's fine. But again, we need to also note to some extent that Kogi is slightly
cosmopolitan. Is slightly cosmopolitan, slightly multi-ethnic, and it's importantly a gateway state. It's a lot of people cohabit. There's an increased level of cohabitation in the place. So because of this relative cosmopolitan nature of the state, you can expect some level of understanding, some level of increased understanding of processes and procedures, and increased appreciation of democracy and the need for them to exercise their franchise as well, like we observe in the case of Bayelsa. So it's actually gratifying that the closeness between the genders are close. That is impressive, and we expect more of this to happen in years to come as well, because it shows that we're making progress, like we have severally pointed out here. We're making progress in terms of the growth, in terms of the evolution of our democracy, and that's what we actually all want.
Okay, let me take us as I know INEC gave a lot of analysis and assured Nigerians that by this election, Nigerians will go for the surprise. Now, by the age distribution here, yes. Well, this is the age distribution. Yes. Now we have the aged 70 plus 64%. No, not 64%. 64,000, 3.9%. So, I mean, the total population, 64,254, which represents 3.9%. Correct. The elderly, middle age, the youths. Yes. And let me compare middle age and the youths. Yes. 445,380, which is 27.05%. Yes. The youth, 893,087. Yes. Looking at this, what's your take?
Well, it is about the national average. The youths dominate the voters register. People aged 18 and 35 is all we consider youths. And as from Kogi, you can see that it's almost double the middle-age population. In the national average, I think last I got was about 51.something%. So the bulk of our people, we all know that Nigeria is populated by youth, really, but our statistics bear that out, and over 50% of that's why we concentrated in our voter education, concentrated on the youths. Look, you are the largest number of people, you can make a difference in this election, come out to vote, eschew violence, because it's very, very important. Most of the people engaged in violence seem to be youths as well. So there was a lot of activities and targeted voter education towards the youths of Kogi State. If you look at Bayelsa, it's about the same thing. A lot of things are targeted at them because they are critical. In any case, the present and the future belongs to the youth. So decisions being made today will affect not only their today but their tomorrow. And so it's very important that they take more than a passive interest in what happens in not just today but in governance generally.
Okay. When we return from Kogi Lokoja, we'll be taking a look at collection of BBCs in Kogi State for this election. But quickly, Fisayo Ogunfuyi, who is on the field, is standing by to give us an update from where he is right now in Lokoja.
This is the INEC headquarters here in Kogi State, in Lokoja to be precise, and men and materials have since been dispatched to every part of the state to make sure that we have a hitch-free exercise. One of the most obvious things that you see around town in Lokoja is the heavy presence of law enforcement agents. As you can see behind me, this is the anti-terrorist unit, well kitted and ready for their assignment. Many of them, of course, have gone to different locations across Kogi State, and of course this is what you see in most of the places. Of course, some of the places that have been seen as flash points and all that, you see a lot of security men making sure that hoodlums and miscreants don't come and perhaps slash ballot boxes. Let me talk to a member of the Independent National Electoral Commission of the Voter Education Unit. Please tell us a bit about the process today and what has happened from the headquarters here to the hinterland.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have deployed more security personnel that are following the collation officers to their local government. Voting has begun in earnest, and what we are having is accreditation and voting schematically.
All right, and talking about, have there been any hitches, or in terms of logistics, are you satisfied with what you have seen? And in terms of what you are hearing from the field, I saw you and some of your colleagues earlier in the morning. What is the feedback so far?
As you can see, the presence of security men here shows that everything is in control. And with the report we are having, everything is calm. We are on top of the situation. Things are okay.
It is a medley of, law enforcement agents right here. You have the members of the Nigerian police force. We have members of the civil defense. We have even the immigration. And just moving forward, you will see even members of the federal fire right here with their van, all getting ready that if there be any issues, too much heat or fire, they are here to douse the tension. Can we meet you, sir?
Oh, yeah, I'm Thompson Mohammed Olatunji from Federal Fire Service, Abuja.
All right, so tell us a bit about the collaboration between agencies. We've seen all kinds of uniforms here today, and tell us how you have been interacting with your colleagues as far as this election is concerned.
Oh, thank you very much. Collaboration is the word. We've gone around with our agency or other agencies that are concerned with this election, the police, civil defense, immigration. We are together. In fact, in less than 1 hour, we are going to do show of strength around the state. We met the commissioner of police. He told us by 11 we go around to do show of strength so as to go to where there will be voting. We go to see them, go to see what they are doing there. We want to make sure if there are errors, we need to advise them on what to do. If they are nothing, we need to just encourage them to continue.
Thank you very much for talking to us. That is just a little glimpse, a microcosm of the security architecture right here. I'm not in uniform, but I give us something like this so that men of the Nigerian police, civil defense, once they see us, they know that we are also partners in progress. So we'll be giving you updates, and if possible, we'll also perhaps go around town to see exactly in terms of security presence, in terms of turnout, and in terms of the general mood. We will come again and tell you one or two things about what is happening. But lastly, you might want to share a bit in terms of, we'll talk about collaboration. What about logistics?
In fact, everything, we've done everything possible. We don't have problem concerning logistics. Our vehicles are being stationed strategically. We have our fire appliance in the government house. You can see one behind me here. We have another one by the roundabout, far from this place. Then the state fire service has already dispatched their vehicles to strategic areas within the state to cover this election.
Hopefully we will not have any fires, no ballot boxes will be snatched, neither will any be burnt. We are hoping that the whole process is peaceful, is calm, and so voting, an election which is just a process out of the entire political architecture, will just go as seamlessly as possible, and Kogi will continue to live in peace, harmony, and unity. It's back to the studio.
I was trying to take special notes there from you because quite gratifying the first time in an election. We had always seen trucks conveying materials, and indeed ambulance standing by, or ambulances standing by at the various units. But today we could find a live firefighting truck standing by. Let me go to Sazi. Is it an innovation? Is it an improvement? Besides the fact that Fisel said all kinds of uniforms, the visible ones, police, all that. What's its secret? Is that innovation?
Well, apart from the uniforms, there are even some people who are plainclothes security operatives who are in plainclothes as well. So people have to know that. So because intelligence gathering, intelligence reports are also part of the security architecture. The AIG can speak better on that. We have always said that elections are a multi-stakeholder process, and so everybody that can play a role. You'll be surprised. We always get invite religious leaders, traditional rulers, because everybody has a role. Fire service is an equally important. They have an equally important role to play in these things. Apart from the fact that arson in the last elections and previous elections, arson has been committed on public property properties, including INEC buildings. Don't forget that. So both before and during elections. So they have an important role. Ambulances are not as visible, but ambulances are put in strategic places. Medical staff are on field. You could call it an innovation, but it's also part of that multi-ethnic approach, multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder approach towards electoral and election management. It's so important. Everybody has their own role to play.
Okay, let's take a look at threat assessment, and I'm taking this question to the AIG. Now, compared with Bayelsa, where we are conducting elections in 8 local government areas, Kogi 21 by the spread here. What would you say is the threat assessment, given the fact that Kogi is a hub that people travel about as of today? What is your assessment threat?
Yeah, we do threat and assessment or analysis in order to enable us plan. Basically, I will always advise that holistically look at the state without talking about specific flashpoints. Because what will be a flashpoint today, by the time you now concentrate on that today flashpoint, that tomorrow it may turn out to be a different area. So when planning, we look at the whole, holistically, that the whole state is a flashpoint. But within us, we know exactly some other areas we consider as more flashy than the others. And when you do this, you will not be caught pants down. And exactly that is what I recommend. For the 2 states, I must tell you honestly that it was based on the threat analysis or assessment of the 2 states that led to the deployment made so far. And we are happy that people are talking from the field, that is people on the ground. And from all they've been saying, I think it's been going on fine. So which means our strategies are working.
Okay, before we leave this analysis, let me take on Dr. Deniyi. Dr. Deniyi, now, so far from what we got from the field, we see orderliness, no reports of threats yet.
Absolutely.
We have not heard reports of materials not arriving. We have not heard reports of INEC vehicles or materials burnt. And the age bracket, we saw Fisayo speaking with a man in his late 70s.
That's right.
And a young girl, and all of them looking very, very ready to vote today. And INEC has proven the fact that as at now, polling has commenced, and all the 21 local government areas in Kogi State and all the 8 local government areas in Bayelsa State, voting is on now.
Yes.
So what would you say would have been actually
usually, what I discover is that, all the agencies most of the time are always very ready. INEC, the police, and all other sister agencies responsible for the maintenance of peace. At least from their pronouncements, from the many things they tell us, they don't leave us in doubt regarding their preparedness. But something always happens, that always cause some kind of division somewhere. Perhaps at the level of execution, there's always a problem. There's a piece in the jigsaw that's always missing. And what is that piece? Sometimes it happens at the level of collation. So at this level, it's okay, it's salutary. We are glad that there are no incidences, no reports yet. But we also hope that it will not just stop at this stage, but at the stage of collation, of results, the counting, and every other process too. So first of all, we can salute ourselves, we can begin to congratulate ourselves. That has been so far so good, but let it continue up to the time where the results will be released. And even beyond that, let this continue in the post-election stage. It's not enough for us to salute ourselves in the pre-election stage, in the election stage. What about the post-election stage? How much or how long are we going to continue tribunalizing the process? Bayelsa, sometimes there's still a haze over which court decision we should believe and which one we shouldn't believe. Kogi State would also do not know, with the kind of tension that happened in the pre-election stage. We just hope that it will not snowball, that it will not continue into the post-election stage. So these are some of the issues we should also begin to address our minds to.
The 3 stages, pre, during, and post.
Absolutely.
As a media expert, what's your impression regarding so far the media visibility given to these 2 strategic elections in Nigeria today? Pre and up to now. What's your analysis as we leave
the states that are classed, that have to take that conduct election, in the off-cycle period, in the off-season period, are really relatively lucky state because they command all the attention. You know, I read earlier on, you saw the embassy statement, saw diplomatic statements admonishing stakeholders on the need for us to have a free, fair, credible election in those states. Yes, they have said that they don't have interest, but they're interested in a peaceful election. That's the priority of everyone. And these states, you know, are focused. You know, they are focused at the moment because we probably, and INEC has told us several times, sometimes they use these states, you know, as examples. They use these states sometimes as experiments. They look at the downsides, inadequacies in the process in these states to learn more, you know, to improve on future elections. And it's okay, somehow it has happened. There are obstacles, off-season elections. It has happened. It happened in the first instance through endless court processes. We just hope that these court processes will be discontinued. But as it were, we have taken the situation now as a fait accompli. But let's make the best out of it. How well can elections in these states, you know, instruct further elections so that the ideal, free, fair, credible and transparent election can be achieved, can be attained in this country.
Okay, Osaze, would you say that at the moment your deployment of technology during the elections, the last immediate past election and now, are you on traction or you're losing traction?
Well, when you say are we on course, are we on traction? There's an end.
Are you gaining or losing?
And there's an end to it.
Because we hear use of PVC, non-use of PVC. So looking at it, I'll be asking, are we gaining traction or we are losing traction?
Well, right from about 2006, I would say, we've been building on deployment of technology as far as the law permits it. People should realize that this is a process. We started with the electronic capture, electronic register, which we have now. And it started way back, I think under Dr. Gubade as chairman of the commission. We tried to develop an electronic register using the OMR forms. There was some measure of success with that, but going on to 2006, we now for the first time tried direct data capture. That was not as successful as it should be, but it was a process. Come 2010, 2011, we had more machines this time and used direct data capture, and that is the register, fully electronic register that we'll still use. It's important to note that because this is the background. From the electronic register, we now graduated to the use of the permanent voter card, which is electronic because it has an electronic chip in it, unlike the previous ones where we just had a piece of paper with a temporary voter's card prior to 2013 or thereabouts when the permanent voter's cards started coming in. So it's a smart card. And then later on, developing again, building on that, we now had a smart card reader. So it's one thing to have the card, a smart card, you now have to read that card. So the card contains your biometric, the chip contains your biometric, the smart card reader will now use it. Following with the development of law, we'll now proceed further. So over the years, I give this background to show that, look, it's been incremental build-up, and that is very, very necessary. The next stage might be, we now have electronic register, we now have electronic card, we now have electronic accreditation, coupled with the manual. So possibly, when there's a reflection of that in the law, we probably will go and start thinking of electronic voting and electronic transmission of results. So you see the incremental build-up in technology. Obviously, over the years, traction has been built. You couldn't have started from the other way around. You don't start the building from the roof. You start from the foundation. If the foundation is not right, then you cannot build on it. You cannot get to the roof. Eventually, we'll get to transmission. We'll get to electronic voting. We'll get to using your smartphone to vote and things like that. But we must get the basics right first. So I think there's a lot of traction in that direction, going towards the ultimate complete deployment of technology in all sorts of things. Also technology, you talk about PVC, but you forget that we use technology as well in the INEC Citizens Contact Center. As I'm here, I'm checking my platforms to find out what is actually going on, whether they're adverse reports, whether they're good reports. I'm seeing photographs of people voting. If there's an adverse report, they're encouraged to send photographs of it, pictorial evidence of it. So that is also use of technology in other aspects. When we do broadcast, we send bulk SMS messages to voters. We use the INEC Citizen Contact Center, the MyINEC app, so that people can communicate, the two-way communication. That is the use of technology. So it's not just in the nuts and bolts of actually voting. In terms of getting reports from the field, reporting, we're using technology in other areas. In planning, we're using technology. In threats assessment, we have what we call the EVMA tool, Election Violence Mitigation and Advocacy tool. We have different tools that we use. We do mapping electronically and things like that. So technology is being used in different facets of the process. So lots of tractions. Don't just concentrate on that one of those accreditation and voting. There are lots of ways technology. It's the present is the future. We're in the information age, and we must make maximum use as long as and as far as the law permits it. Technology is an important part of our planning and execution implementation processes.
Dr. Adeniyi, up until now, by this time we would have been getting updates from the field, and the updates we normally get is materials have disappeared in this particular location in Bayelsa or Kogi State. Up till now, we have not had that.
That's right.
And I remember vividly one of our sessions here during Nigeria Decides, Osaze has said, very soon, election thugs, political thuggery will be eliminated in the Nigerian political landscape and violence. So far, so good. Up to this moment, we have not heard of that. So violence, thuggery appears almost zero so far in this process.
You see, don't forget, like the police will always, or the security experts will also tell us, you know, violence does not happen in a vacuum. Violence happens where it is permitted, you know, where there's an opportunity for it. But in the case of Kogi and Bayelsa, for instance, they are just 2 states out of 36 states, you know, so there's a concentration, there's heavy attention on it, you know, so resources, you know, are more than enough to take care of those situations, you know. 35,000 policemen deployed to Kogi, and a whole number, 62,000 policemen, you know, between the 2 states. That's quite a lot, you know. So the presence of police in itself can be a deterrence, you know, for any potential, you know, offender. But in the circumstance, we can also take for granted the unfortunate determination of you know, people who can call desperados to pervert the system. It's okay for us, like I said earlier, to salute ourselves at this stage, but it doesn't mean that we should rest on our oars, because there are 6 other critical stages that we'll go through in the course of this election. The coalition stage, you see there, the announcement stage and all of that, you know, we still...
So it's not yet Uhuru?
Yeah, it's not yet Uhuru, but so far so good, Omni, you know, and we just hope that the entire process will be commendable, that we will be happy to say that, yes, we've made progress.
Okay, let's quickly go back to Kogi now, and we are heading straight to Ayangba, where one of our correspondents will be giving us an update, and shortly after that, we'll take another location in Kogi State.
Behind me here is the popular roundabout, popularly called Igala Unity Square in Ayangba, the Kina local government area of Kogi State. There is something unique and symbolic about this same particular roundabout. To some people, it's a symbol of unity. And to some people, it links the people traveling, the travelers traveling from the north, Federal Capital Territory, from the west, link them to the eastern part of the country. To some people, it's a center of economic activities where people involved in buying and selling.
Well, as you can see, that the whole place is quiet, there's no movement. I am going to my polling unit, and I'm standing right in the heart of Ayangba, that is in the Kina local government of Kogi State, and everywhere is quiet. Everybody has gone to their various polling units to perform their civic right. I'm talking to you from Ayangba right now, and as you can see, everywhere is quiet, and there are security agents everywhere to monitor the election, and we are happy moving to our various destinations where we can perform our civic right as well.
But something amazes me about this particular roundabout today, being the election day. The busy place is deserted with no people around. But the question is, where are the people? But I now got an answer that says the people, most of the people involved in buying and selling here have gone to their various localities to exercise their civic rights. That is to say, all is set for this year's governorship election in Kogi State, Ayangba particularly. From Ayangba, the Kina local government area of the state, Ayodele Bidemi, NTA News.
Thank you, Ayodele Bidemi there, reporting from Ayangba. Now we quickly will join Charles. Charles will give us an update from Dekina in Kogi State.
The much talked about November 16 governorship and Kogi West rerun senatorial election is here, and everyone is excited and they are eager to know what the result will be at the end of the day. I have an electorate here who will be talking to us about how he feels about the election today.
The election material has been dispersed to other polling units. This is Ogboyaga, Ward 1. They are about to commence the accreditation, and we have not observed any violence this morning, and I pray to God Almighty that we will not experience any violence before the end of the election. And I'm also eager to get the outcome of the election. I pray everything went successful.
Okay. Okay, now we will also hear from father here who is also here too. Yeah, Usman Omabo.
We are happy over the election of 16 November today. We are happy the election will be conducted without any problem. The materials have been said to every polling unit. We are very grateful. We will do successful election by God's grace.
Okay, studio, I'd like to tell you that as early as 7 a.m., most of the polling units that we have been to, the ad hoc staff were on ground to sort out their materials, awaiting accreditation, awaiting the accreditation and voting. Now, it may also interest you to know that Odu Boyaga is where the candidates of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Musa Wada, hails from. And this place where I am right now is his polling unit, and it's unit 001. The crowd you're seeing behind me is because of the arrival of the People's Democratic Party candidate, Wada Musa. He just stepped into the polling unit now and waiting to be accredited and also cast his ballot. A while ago, he was addressing supporters on the need to stay calm and ensure that their vote counts. Okay, so as things unfold here, we will give you details of every activity that we witness here.
So much, Charles. Charles gave us an update from Dekina in Kogi State. So far, so good. The polling is in progress, and I must say that Osaze has been fiddling with gadgets. Maybe he needs to give us an update. What's the update our reporters are giving us?
Well, generally, things have been peaceful. Generally, things started on time, and generally, everything is going according to plan. But there are isolated cases, very isolated, very few cases of disruptions. There's a case of carrier malfunction which has been fixed. So going through the platform, I think we are very much on course. But as Dr. Adeni says, we are cautiously optimistic, let me put it that way, that things will continue this way. And as the AIG says, if things go according to plans, we're implementing our plans. If they go and there are no disruptions, then everything will go very, very smoothly. You see, the presence of enough security forces on ground it's an act of deterrence. I think it deters. But also is the fact that you will not be rewarded for bad behavior. INEC will not reward you for bad behavior. If you go and disrupt things, it is of no moment. If it's so that we feel we have to go back, we'll mobilize and get enough security and go back there and conduct this election. So you might go there and burn our materials. Nothing, we will not accept fictitious results from anywhere. So there's a problem there. So both in terms of deterrence, in terms of security presence, and in terms of not profiting from your wrongdoing, I think the message is seeping in, and it should get clear that there's still deviance. There will always be in any society. There will always be deviance. But the main thing is that it's of no moment. You are risking your life, risking people's lives for no moment. No reward. There's no gain, no advantage that you're going to get from disrupting the process. And in fact, you risk your life, you risk prosecution, you risk incarceration. The risks are not worth the efforts, basically. I think that must be realized.
The IGP, in his brief ahead of this election, was very emphatic that the Nigerian police is ready. He talked about the deployments, but he was very particular about the fact that, let me quote him, no vote buying. It should not be tolerated. And one of the concerns raised by the civil society ahead of this election was if only the electorate will abide by this, and if only the political actors will abide by this. So far, so good. Like he said, we should be cautiously optimistic. Have we had any reports of maybe people caught at the point of polling, selling or buying votes?
Well, let me give straight for that. On the part of the police, we have not had any of such reports. And also, I need to quickly mention here, if we are talking about pre, during and post, the police is adequately prepared for these stages. Because if you watch the process of election, at the end of the elections, at the various units and wards, as the collation is being taken from one unit to the collation ward, the policemen who supervised or who monitored or who provided security at that location also move with the materials to the next stage. So you now discover that there will be a build-up of security as it goes to the final collation stage. Because the fear of maybe during collation there may be some disruption. I think we have planned ahead for that. And usually the aftermath, that is the post-election, we equally have planned. We have a strategy on that, and it is better I quickly assure everyone that that is before now, everybody saw what happened, even in spite of social media, whatever. Some of them have been actually cleared. You know, the true story has been told. Okay. I don't want to be specific on a particular area, but
okay. Like we assured our viewers that in the course of this transmission, we shall be doing a jigsaw, Kogi and Bayelsa States. Let me quickly go to Guinea-Guana, where Nnamdi Odipo is at one of the key locations to give us an update of developments there.
To ask me questions and all of that. Indeed, it's been an interesting one year in Yonogwa. I'm reaching you from Amarata Primary School, somewhere in the center of Yonogwa. It's actually a massive turnout of voters there, Omini, I dare say. I mean, we were inundated, shocked by the sights we saw when we got here. It's been similar experience in most of the places that I've had to visit earlier today, Omini. It's a mixed grill of voters, eligible voters who have come out to exercise their franchise, who have come out to cast their vote. We have men here, we have women here, we have first-time voters here, we have physically challenged persons here, we have a visible and excited crowd of voters here. Omini, I'll just give you a taste of what I am talking about here when Mama, well done, Mao. I know say you don't vote before, and I see as soon as plenty for you. Oh, Omini, I beg your pardon, please, I crave your indulgence to address my prospective respondents in Pidgin English. I want to believe Nigerians would have a sense of what she's saying if she does that. Madam, I beg, help me tell our people where they watch for other parts of the country how you feel today coming out to come exercise your vote.
I feel very happy to come out and vote because I want to vote the person of my choice. So I use this time to call on everybody to come out and cast their vote for the person of their choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, there are men here, there are women here, there are a number of young people, there are aged people here. Mama, well done, ma. What you for under this weather? You stand for queue to vote for this place. Why you come out say you go participate for this exercise?
Because I come to vote, say make the bias are good for us. Now it make us stand to come to vote.
So whether rain meet you here or sunshine here or
yes, sun meet me or rain meet me or I dare here, I stand by.
I mean that gives you an idea of what we're talking about here. She is aged. She is set to stay here until she exercises a franchise. I'll just walk a bit towards the line here. It's a massive place, like I said. There are about 12 voting points here. It's perhaps it's clearly one of the biggest that I have seen so far since I've had to drive around Yonogwa. I see someone else going towards the vote, sir. Sir, please don't be shy. Please don't be shy. Please talk to Nigerians. Talk to our people out there. Please assure them that things are going on smoothly, or rather, is it going just as smoothly as you have always expected or expect?
I think things are going smoothly. Okay. I'm just coming to exercise my franchise. Okay. And I think looking at the environment, I think things are going smoothly.
What's your general expectations from this exercise? Do you expect that people or more people were already impressed by the turnouts that we're seeing, especially here at Amarata Primary School? Do you envisage that people will still turn out the more?
Sure. I'm just coming now. More people are coming. I hope so. I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, Omini, it's going quite progressively here at Amarata Primary School, where I said, remember that they've got like 12 voting points here. I'll try to see if I can get someone else, even if it's an observer, to perhaps speak to us as to the nature of the exercise here so far. I've got someone I would like to also speak to. Hello, sir. Are you coming for the voting here? Yes. And you're just arriving, sir? Yes. Please.
We'll return back to Namdi. We just lost 6 signals. Everything is very natural. But so far, Namdi says at this particular location, Amarata in Yenegua, we have 12 voting points. I was just about asking him to close up to one of the INEC officials there to give us an update, and thereafter get to one of the security operatives location to also give us an update, because clearly from what we have seen, pictures don't lie. It shows clearly that although Osaze has talked about the fact that we should be cautiously optimistic, and the threat assessment by the AIG has been very wonderful, and it speaks to what we analyzed here to say that, well, the political culture in Nigeria, apparently because of developments from 1999 to date, still counting. Nigeria is evolving in terms of a democratic culture. And we heard the elderly woman there. I remember they said sometime there was a protest somewhere, and they approached an elderly woman. They asked her, why are you protesting? She said she does not know why they are protesting. But we saw a lady here say she is there to vote because she wants Bayelsa to be good. So looking at this and the spread of the age bracket of the electorate on the field, Dr. Adeniyi, what are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. I actually, seeing that woman there evoked memories of Annex in Cooper. In the American election when Obama was elected, I think Obama cited her voting irrespective of her age, and actually singled her for mentioning in his speech declaring his victory. So that picture, that image reminds me of the story of that woman. You could see the joy, you could see the excitement, the enthusiasm on the part of the electorate, as it were, and you'd be wondering why are these people so resilient, why are they so determined to come out and vote and exercise their franchise irrespective of the disappointment they have witnessed over the years in the hands of their political leaders. So it just tells me that it's only through the PVC, through the electioneering process on the day of displayed on the day of election, that people are able to show their own power as well. That's the one moment they have the right to show their power, to exercise their power. But we need to also call on the leaders who will emerge in the process to remember the sacrifice being made by these people. Look at the determination, saying that whether come rain, come shine, I am going to vote, and I want to vote because I want Bayelsa to be good. The onus is now, the ball will now be back in the courts of the leaders, of those who will be elected, to remember these people by the time they get into power and not take them for granted, and to work for their own good as against self-aggrandizement, so that at the end of the day, in another 4 years, the people we are seeing, of course, we expect to see a better image of these people, properly dressed, not looking gowned the way some of them are looking fresher, healthier, like more prosperous people like we see in other parts of the world. I will keep making the point to Mini that yes, we are challenged at the level of funds, at the level of finance, but we can take ourselves to a level where in the Committee of Nations we can also be seen as a developing nation, or a nation that is making progress, not just in economics but also in the evolution of our democracy, like we have seen in some other places. There are countries in Asia and the South Pacific that were once at par with, but they have left us behind. Nothing is stopping us from also upping our ants, like we're beginning to see, and getting to that level. Some of our political leaders are trying, they're doing their best. We have to continue to make this point, but we need a lot more of them joining those who are determined to take us out of the woods.
Well, we'll quickly go back to Namdi Dipo, who is in Yenegua, and I can see him now. So Namdi, if you can hear me, are you still within Amarata? Still within Amarata? Okay, back here. We raised 4 thematic concerns at the opening of this program regarding Bayelsa and Kogi, and one of it was is massive deployment of security personnel, will it give hope to the electorate to come out to vote, or will it be a threat? We had cases where before now, because of the security arrangements on ground, a voter who had prepared to vote, a voter who had been very enthusiastic to come out and vote, on the day of election decides to stay back, where we had voter apathy. And the AIG in charge of operation had told us earlier that all this would not be the case. And from what we saw, the update from Nnamdi at Amarata, the huge population we saw there, orderliness from what he said, spread in age. So what would have been responsible for this?
Well, I think it's the assurance that if the voters see they come out, there will be no molestation and they will be given the adequate security coverage, the awareness, and it goes a long way to talk about trust. You know, having confidence on the security, having a trust, you know, in the security system. And one thing we must all know, the police we are talking about, the police are not imported from any other place. They are members of the same country. So by the time you continue to, you know, grow in that trust and, you know, cover the gap, and the confidence you build in your own system, you see everything will go well. Because today, because we have election, we would not suggest that we need to go and import policemen. It's the policemen that we have here, who are your brothers and sisters, who are from your children, that will still manage the situation. And once you now have that confidence, like I said, in that your system, automatically you trust in them, and again, you believe in them, you go out and you discover what we have seen, what we are seeing now. I mean, it's it attests to the fact that the people are gradually, you know, having that confidence in the police, and again the trust is there based on our own relationship with them. It's a two-way thing, because police is the only organization that you can find even in the smallest hamlets in this country.
Let me just hold you there, because we need to really get this up so you can brief us more. Nnamdi is back, and if he's on, let's hear his update from Amarata, where he briefed us moments ago. And hello Nnamdi, what's the update?
Amarata, we're reaching you from Amarata Primary School. Yeah, and like I said, it's a massive turnout of voters there, and it's been quite a peaceful exercise there. Very oddly, I dare say, very oddly, I dare say, it's a massive turnout. Men, women, first-time voters. I did speak to two prospective voters earlier. I intend to speak to someone who's already cast his or her vote by the time we leave this place. If you just take a look behind me, you'd see a line of INEC officials seated attending to eligible voters, and you'd also see the cubicle behind me here where the eligible voter comes to actually turn print in exercising his or her vote. It's been quite a progressive exercise here, Omini. I just say very calm, very peaceful, Omini.
And from what you're telling us here, this is one of the biggest voting centers, and you have 12 polling units. What is the security arrangement by your assessment on ground?
We see a lot of policemen and, of course, police officers around. When we got in earlier, we noticed that there were some of them attached to, standing quite close to some of the voting points. A couple of them outside on the fringes of the voting points as well. Some of them along the road leading to this voting area as well. I'll just ask the camera to pan just a bit to my right, like he's just done already. You'd notice officers of the Nigerian police standing quite close to some of these voting points. All around this center where we are right now, there are policemen, I beg your pardon, standing all around, hoping to aid a peaceful conduct of the exercise there, Omini.
With the Electoral Act, what's your assessment regarding the spread, gender, age, and what have you?
Okay, from the breakdown of the demographics that we got from the Independent Electoral Commission, we do know already that we will be having more men participate in this election. A slight edge over the women folk. So if you, but if you ask me if I am to take my reporter's guess and just do like a cursory overview of which of the genders will have more here, I would say you have more women gathered out here than men. But of course we do know from the breakdown of the demographics that we're expected to have more men participating in the election. But I mean, it's more common here in our society to see women coming to participate in exercises like this, and that's why we see more heads, more female heads here than men. And I mean, in some of the places where we went to earlier, we also witnessed the same thing. But of course we know in the long run would have more men participating in this exercise. I actually do have one woman standing in line waiting just at the edge. I think she's next in line to go cast her vote. Madam, this exercise, I mean, is this something you're excited about? You've had to wait 4 years to participate in this exercise.
Right on time that we lost signal. Well, when the signals are through, return back to Nnamdi. But so far so good. Spread, compliance with the Electoral Act, age difference, gender, all that. Nnamdi has given us an update. You were on the security arrangements. You know, before now, on election day, you find fierce-looking police officers, very unfriendly looking, but we saw pictures of a crisscross of the security agencies, correctional service, police, civil defense, and you see this congenial atmosphere. You were on it. What would have been responsible? Is it planning? Is it improvement or a build-up to the democratic culture in Nigeria?
They all come in, and two, synergy. We are Nigerians, and we are working for the same purpose. So no rivalry, and this election, the outcome of it is a plus for the nation, and we are all on national assignment. And two, over time, we relate, even if it's not made to be in the public. And at the state level, for instance, you have this election committee, you know, headed by the Commissioner of Police on ground. So all other security agents or commanders, they meet regularly with the INEC on the processes and the planning and all. So by the time the head of each of these security units, you know, goes back to address his men on the outcome of their meeting, you should expect that, you know, when there's a synergy from the head, it transcends to the lowest level. And so by the time you go to the field and where you see them at the various polling units, that same synergy and relationship is, you know, played out.
Okay, Dr. Dini, during elections on days like this, what you hear complaints mostly will be that the people who are giving us problems today are the political actors. But that seems not to be the problem today.
I think it's something that is good that we're noticing that. But don't forget that we've also made the point that because we only have two states in the focus now, two states on the radar, it means that security agencies, INEC, is probably not spreading themselves thin. Election is not happening in 36 states of the country. By the way, how many policemen do we even have, you know, relative to the Nigerian population? The last time I checked, the number is still below par, below the UN recommendation, you know, a little over 300 compared to over 200 million people, you know. Yeah. So in a general election, for instance, you may have problem with full deployment, you know, across the country. But this situation is different. We have only two states in focus. So we have nearly effective deployment of policemen, and INEC obviously at the ready with all the assurances we've had. So, like I said earlier, violence thrives in a situation where the condition is permissive. But now the condition is hardly permissive. You know, but it's not to say that, like we said, it's not a hurry yet. We still have to wait and watch, and hope that at the point of counting, somebody will not try to play smart, because some of them are not going to be bothered at this stage. What they're going to be targeting is, mischief at the point where counting and announcement of the results will be made. We need to begin to think ahead. How do we forestall such tendencies? Just like the police have tried, to analyze information, develop them into intelligence, and try to predict areas where there could be violence, and moving personnel to those areas. We should also begin to think of, stages that are still ahead. How do we prevent crises or incidences from developing? Are those other stages as well? Then what about the time when the election will be announced? What more can we do to discourage people from endless tribunalization of the process? It is the tribunalization of the process that has led to this off-cycle, off-season election that we're having in the first place. How do we discontinue this? How do we discontinue this? Is this something that will continue in perpetuity? Is this something that will continue ad infinitum? There has to be a cutoff point, and that cutoff point will have to be defined when our orientation towards political contestation is changed. At the moment, we just think that it's a zero-sum game, that we better die trying. We will deploy everything possible to win elections, and by the time win that election, we just think that is the shortest way towards a personal aggrandizement. We need to begin to think away from those kind of ideological position, and the best way we can do it is for the agencies of government, the NOA, Ministry of Information, as to step in at this point and perhaps do a reorientation, a reacculturation, a new form of conscientization, so that while we're developing at the level of institution, while we're developing at the level of system and operation of the democratic process, our ideology, our mindset will also be developing with it as well.
Well, up to the 11th hour, talking about INEC, we had court cases, we had judgments coming up, but today's election day, and in Bayelsa, we're talking about 23 political parties have come in, and in Bayelsa 45, right, and in Kogi State 23, right? So what's the update? We had contestations of who contest, who not to contest, just to update without necessarily mentioning the political parties.
There are 25 political parties contesting in Kogi State. In the initial list published 30 days ago, we had 23. But in the intervening period, 2 other political parties have been put on the ballots at different times as a result of court orders, court judgments. And so they're there. They were not there initially because they sponsored candidates who were not qualified, in the sense that 2 of them sponsored candidates who were not of age. The minimum age for qualification to be governor of a state is 35 years old, but they said mistakenly, I don't know, but the sponsor candidates were not qualified, so we did not initially have them on the ballot, but the courts have put them on the ballot, so we have 25 in Kogi, while we have 45 in Bayelsa.
So that's the update. So it does not in any way violate the Electoral Act.
What do you mean when you say it does not? What
give and take.
What does not violate the electoral
process in terms of disqualification, non-disqualification, court case, all that? That's what we want to look at.
No, the fact that today you have 25 people on the ballot, eventually we will have to allow the judicial process to run its course, and it is possible that at the end of the day we still have those 25, but it may be that at the end of the day the courts may hold that some of these people were either not qualified or were disqualified, so officially and in the eyes of the law they were never candidates on the ballot, and any vote for those people will be invalid, and they'll be, in the words of the Supreme Court, wasted votes. Recall that in Zamfara, in the last general election, the APC did not properly conduct primaries, and because of a court order, they were put on the ballot. INEC initially said they were not qualified and did not put the party logo and agreement on the ballot. But they went to court. There were 2 conflicting court decisions, one from the Abuja High Court saying INEC was correct, one from the Gusau High Court, Federal High Court, saying INEC was wrong. And then went to the Court of Appeal. Eventually, the Supreme Court settled it and said INEC was correct. So all that came post-election. So all votes for the APC were held to be invalid, null and void, and wasted votes. So all the people who voted APC, sadly, they just wasted their time going out to vote.
So if anybody goes to your site you promoted earlier, will it get information real time? And if we get information real time, you talked about postings of pictures, videos. What are the safeguards to ward off hackers, to ward off people with fake news, to hack and give the public wrong information?
Well, there are various platforms, and we encourage people to use the official platforms. And those who have Androids will even download the INEC app, which gives you current, and that is real time. That will give you everything you need, and also gives you opportunity to report to us what it is like in your particular location. You know, if things are going smoothly, you can take photographs and showing people on queue and things like that. If things are not going as well as they should, then you can also upload those things, and we'll take action to correct whatever shortcoming there are in the process. So it's a two-way communication thing, and our website shows the updated list of candidates. But as I said, in one sense, I don't know whether to use the word provisional or provisional list, because the judiciary still has a say and will have a say eventually as to who was qualified, who was not qualified to be on the ballot. But as far as we're concerned, for now, the 25 in Kogi, 45 in Bayelsa.
So who reports to you? Is it only INEC officials, or is the public also open to report?
Well, I just told you that in my INEC app, everybody who has the app can report and should report. The different platforms. That is the public platform where everybody can report. We have a platform for reporters, media, including NDNC correspondents who cover INEC. They also have a platform, and they're reporting things to us, and we're escalating those things they report. Then there's the internal one. We have monitors. We have observers on the ground. I am part of some of the observer platforms as well. The observers have their own platforms and their own situation where they report things that are happening, and we harvest information from the takers. But there's also an official internal one, which is for the monitors and on ground, our monitors. The difference between a monitor and an observer is that a monitor can correct things going wrong. An observer can only observe and make a report, whereas the monitor are the officials appointed by the commission who go there and correct things. And so when reports from whatever platform we have those things from, we send it to the monitors on ground. So look, there's a problem there. Please go and correct it if it's something that can be corrected. If it's, for example, a report of a serious disruption and cannot be corrected, then they tell us, and we escalate that to the returning officer and the collation officers and things like that. So no results will come from anywhere will be used or utilized. If you cut our materials away, go away, and then you surface in the collection center and later with results, we'll discountenance that because we already have a report. Or we don't trust the integrity or fidelity of what is coming out of that particular polling because of that disruption, because of the hijacking and materials being taken away. So it will not help you to come later, 4 or 5 hours later, when it's time for collation and say, see the results from this place. So it won't help.
Because I'm consistent on you, because right now the election is at a crucial stage, and we expect that if going by the analysis we have gotten, the updates we have gotten, no late arrival of material, no destruction of anything, security is okay, in a matter of maybe minutes or hours, election would have ended. Now, what is your message regarding results? Because we normally will have people go ahead of the umpire, as INEC, going to social media, planting results, posting results, for the sake of the public, for the sake of the innocent, unsuspecting public. What is the procedure? Because very soon we'll be right here, and on Facebook, on social media, Twitter, you find results coming from nowhere.
Yeah, I was just going to say that every stage is crucial. Every stage is critical in the process. Will be it accreditation stage, voting stage, result collation stage, result announcement stage. To us, maybe to the media it may not be, but to us, every stage is critical. Whatever vice affects a stage affects the whole process. It's an interlinked process. Everything is connected. So you cannot cure a vice by subsequent stages. If you don't cure the vice now, it's going to impact on all the stages. So every stage is critical. It's important that the law is clear. The only results that the only persons are the authorized officials. I cannot even come here and announce a result. I'm not authorized to do so. So it's only the authorized officials of the commission who can do so. It's only the official result issued by the commission that is the authentic result. But we have what we call the people's results, EC60G. So at the end of the sorting, counting, and at the end of everything, voting in the polling units, the polling official, the PO, the presiding officer, pastes a result. He writes the result first of all, gives it to all the police and all the party agents who are present, and for the purpose of the observers, the media, and the voters in that particular polling unit, he pastes that result for sake of transparency. Now, there's nothing wrong with that when some people take a snapshot of that EC60G. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to know that is not a final result, as it were. That is the result of the polling unit as announced by the presiding officer, who is the officer in charge of that polling unit for that purpose.
Okay. It looks very, very refreshing. The other days you find it at some point very overwhelmed. When we return from Yenegua, I'll get to you to find out why INEC is not overwhelmed in this election. I hear Onenge Fine Face is at one of the locations to keep us up to speed of developments in Yenegua. I can see him. Onenge, what's the update where you are right now?
Mini, it's raining here in Obuna, Bahrain Kingdom, and we've gone around some polling units. We've seen people participate in the polls, defying the unfavorable weather conditions to make sure that they make their voices heard. The crowd has been massive, very impressive turnout of the electorate to participate, and some persons who had cast their ballots are very open to tell us that it's been a very seamless process for them. One of them is here who will also give us a bit of how the process has been, Mr. Kennedy Okun. So tell us, you just cast your ballot. How was the process for you, sir?
It was very transparent. No issues at all. No issues with the card reader for me. Very organized. And I think it's so far so good.
Well, somewhere around Opolo, we heard of violence. Have you seen any such trace in this part of violence?
Well, for where we are right now, this unit 13, there's not been any violence, and there will not be any violence. As the leader of this community, I've always told them that there must be peace around this environment. So there's nothing like that, and we hope nothing like that will happen.
All right, thank you. I was also in a Ketiama, where we saw people going through the flood. The place is massively flooded, but they didn't mind. With their shoes and rain boots and slippers, they are wading through the flood to get to relatively higher grounds to participate in the process. It's also raining there, but nonetheless, people are out, and we believe that this will continue till the end of the exercise. As we go around, we also keep you updated and posted about the proceedings in other parts of Bayelsa State. Back to you now, Omini.
Orderliness. Is it possible you could just take a walk if you are not limited? Let's have a view of what it is like where you are.
I'm going to move slightly away so you can see behind me